Hello and welcome to another exciting Off the Chain AMA. I'm your host, Kelechi Ibe, and thank you all for joining us today. Our focus for this AMA is how crypto builders continue to make progress with unstoppable momentum, really, even in the face of market volatility and regulatory uncertainties. We have an astounding lineup of industry experts and builders who will be sharing their valuable insights and experience on this topic. So get ready for an educational and inspiring AMA that will pretty much leave you with a deeper understanding of how crypto builders continue to push forward despite like all the challenges that they face. Joining us today, we have Max Lee, who's the founder of OORT, and OORT they're also a co-host for today's AMA. So we want to thank them for that. We have John Gleeson, the COO at Storj. We have Michael Mullaney, Senior BD at Certic. We have Jonathan Victor, the head of BD at Protocol Labs. We have Vince, who's the founder of zkLink. And we have Kartin, who's the founder of Hyper Oracle. So we really want to thank our guest speakers for joining us today. Before we get started, I would like to read our disclaimer. The information provided is for general informational purposes only. All information is provided in good faith. However, we make no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of such information. The statements or opinions expressed in this event are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of Bitmart or its affiliates and shall not be considered professional financial investment advice. All cryptocurrency investments are highly speculative in nature and involve substantial risk of loss. Past, hypothetical, or simulated performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The value of digital currencies can go up or down, and there can be substantial risk in buying, selling, holding, or trading digital currencies. You should carefully consider whether trading or holding digital currencies is suitable for you based on your personal investment objectives, financial circumstances, and risk tolerance. And also, before we begin, we also like to remind our audience that our flagship Learn to Earn program is still ongoing and will be essentially be a part of our off-the-chain AMAs moving forward. The Learn to Earn program is a unique NFT-based initiative designed for our loyal off-the-chain AMA listeners. And this program, you can essentially earn what is called stamp NFTs by actively participating in our AMAs and also our various learning events that we do both online and offline. And these stamp NFTs serve as a proof of attendance and engagement, and you can collect them by just attending our Twitter Space AMAs. As a reminder, the stamp NFTs are not tradable. However, they hold tremendous value because for every 3 stamp NFTs you collect, you can exchange them for a special NFT called the Learn to Earn Time Capsule NFTs. Now, these time capsule NFTs obviously symbolizes the experiences you've gained as a listener for our off-the-chain AMAs. And unlike the stamp NFTs, the time capsule NFTs are actually tradable on the Bitmart NFT marketplace and can contain prices worth up to 50 USDT. You can choose to open the time capsule NFTs, in which case the 3 stamp NFTs will be burned, or you can list and trade them on the Bitmart NFT marketplace. So for instructions on how to collect your Snap NFTs, please check out the information provided on our pinned tweet on this Twitter space. But remember, the Snap NFTs are only eligible to listeners who listen for at least 30 minutes and who also fill out the Gleam form provided on the pinned tweets of this AMA. So With that being said, let's kick off the AMA. I'm excited to talk about this topic today. And so we are going to start with a brief introduction, starting with Max, the founder of OORT. Max, can you tell us about yourself and your company?
Yeah, sure, of course. Thank you for all the information and the introduction. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So, my name is Max Lee. I'm the founder and the CEO of OORT. And in the meanwhile, I'm also a faculty member at Columbia University, working with the electrical engineering department. And my research interest falls in blockchain technology and AI, especially in reinforcement learning. I've been teaching the blockchain technology course and the reinforcement learning course at Columbia University for more than 5 years. So for OORT, this was a project at the very beginning. It's a research topic in my research lab back to 2018, and then after a few years research, and we got the U.S. patent granted in 2021. So in 2021 summer, we decided to bring this OORT, this research topic to the market to try to commercialize it. And OORT is a AI-powered data cloud. It's an infrastructure, Web3 infrastructure. So it's a AI-powered data cloud that unifies the global servers like computing and the storage resources to maximize the privacy and to minimize the cost, because the data privacy and the high cost are the two key pain points in the current Web2 infrastructure when you're talking about AWS or Google Cloud. And OORT is trying to use the decentralized methodology to resolve these two issues. So that's our vision, and that's what we're doing. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think your background as someone who teaches on blockchain, it aligns exactly to what we're also doing here, providing education to basically to the masses really, and yeah, very exciting. Obviously a very exciting product you guys have, decentralized data cloud, and that's very I think something that's going to be in demand moving forward in the blockchain space. So. Once again, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to pass it over to John, COO at Storj.
Hi, and thank you again, of course, for including me in the AMA. Really excited about this conversation. So I'm John Gleeson. I'm Chief Operating Officer for Storj. I've been with Storj since about 2017. My background is in product marketing, product management, and sales for largely enterprise developer tools. And so I'm really very interested to see, particularly now, the evolution of decentralized technologies. Just a word about Storj. Storj is a drop-in replacement for Amazon S3. So we're an object storage layer that's just as durable, but with 99% availability and better global performance for a single upload, even than Amazon. We deliver default multi-region CDN-like performance, zero trust security at a cost that's 80 to 90% lower than Amazon. Instead of building data centers, we leverage excess capacity in data centers all around the world. We aggregate that capacity and we just present that to developers as a single object layer. We're like the Airbnb of hard drives. So we have 24,000 nodes today running in over 100 different countries. And the result is a service that's naturally distributed, fully decentralized, and secure. But again, you don't pay the premium for Amazon. And so as a decentralized infrastructure provider, we love to see builders building, and I'm really excited for the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, Storj definitely a key player in the crypto space. For our audience, definitely look them up. They're definitely one of the key players here. So thank you, John, once again for joining us. Next, I'll pass it over to Michael.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you guys for inviting me to join. As mentioned, my name is Michael. I come from a background in finance and accounting and have been at Certic for a little more than 2 years now. If you're not familiar with Certic, we're the leader in blockchain auditing and security. We were founded in roughly 2018 and have done close to 4,000 audits since then. Found over 60,000 vulnerabilities and look to be, a one-stop shop for Web3 security. So from, the code auditing point of view, the on-chain monitoring, we have KYC and bug bounty services as well as incident response. So no matter what a project's need is, we like to think of ourselves as, as I mentioned before, the one-stop security shop for, multiple parts of the industry.
Yeah, I don't think anybody here doesn't know who Certic is. Certic is, definitely one of the key auditing firms in blockchain and crypto. So, very, very excited to have you guys, have you here and also have Certic, in today's AMA. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass it over to Jonathan.
Hey, how's everyone doing? My name's Jonathan Victor. I'm an ecosystem lead at Protocol Labs. I guess a little bit about me. I've been at Protocol Labs for about 4 years at this point. I've worked kind of all over the place. I started out as a research PM working on Filecoin's proofs before Filecoin launched. I led a lot of our product work immediately after launch, and then I switched gears to run a lot of our ecosystem efforts in the years since. Protocol Labs itself, we're a research and development lab. We focus on technologies that advance computer overall. Projects that we work on that folks might be familiar with, IPFS, Filecoin, libp2p, they're all sort of in this giant stack of how do we improve the internet overall, really focused on content addressing and local first operations first, and then broadening it out to how we decentralize the web overall.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. That's an impressive list of companies that you currently work with. So very, very glad to have you here with us today. I'm going to pass it over to Vince.
Hi, everyone. This is Vince from ZKLink. I'm co-founder of ZKLink. I have been in the crypto space since 5 years ago. I used to be a Bitcoin miner, and later on I worked at Huobi Exchange and the investment team and the listing team. 2 years ago, I co-founded ZKLink with one of my friends who has been working on the zero-knowledge proof research for a while. A little bit about the ZKLink. At ZKLink, we're building the industry's first multi-chain ZK rollup, revolutionizing decentralized trading experience. More specifically, ZKLink is a unified multi-chain trading infrastructure aimed to empower the next generation of decentralized trading products, such as central limit order book DEX, NFT marketplace, etc. We are building a ZK rollup middleware, a middle layer that natively connects to various layer 1s and layer 2s and aggregates liquidity analysis from these different ecosystems and empower native multi-chain eco dApps. That's it. Very excited to have this opportunity to speak to you, to talk to on this topic today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Glad to see projects here, working, with something related to, ZK rollups. I know it's been a kind of a hot topic of discussion lately, and I mean, in some people's, opinion, one of the best, or fastest growing, I guess, technology, innovation in the blockchain space. So, to see you guys, working on that, that says a lot about, obviously the talent on your team. And very, very excited to have you here with us today for sure. And last but not the least, we're gonna pass it over to Kartin.
Hi, can you hear? Just in case my internet has some problem.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Kartin. I'm the founder of HyperOracle, which is a programmable ZK Oracle network. So the purpose for using ZK Oracle, you can scale up your smart contract computation ability. You can also use empower the smart contract with some machine learning model with a ZK Oracle. And also the main feature is that it's really easy to program with. So you can directly use JavaScript to write the program logic and generate the zero-knowledge proof, and then submit the result for computation and data fetching into your smart contract.
Wow, that sounds like a very useful and powerful technology right there. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for joining us today, Kartin. Yeah, and so So let's dive into the topic of today. So I mean, I guess before we delve into like kind of what motivates you to keep building, obviously during the bear market, let's kind of discuss the current state of the industry. Like, how do you feel about the current industry landscape, and what potential dominant narrative do you predict or expect for the remainder of 2023? I'm going to start with Max.
Yeah, very good question. So for we all know the current market, right? So so for the current industry landscape, I would say that I didn't see much new stuff. There are some, I mean, but not significant new stuff. I mean, most of people are still watching and they're trying to some new things, but seems like we need people to brainstorm. So but in my view, I'm not a big fan of doing predictions, project something in the future, because I don't think I'm capable to do so. But my vision in the long term is so blockchain or Web3, whatever you want to call it, need to have massive adoption. So that is the key. So we don't want to build something to just serve like a few millions of people, which is what we're doing now, right? So when you do the product design, when you try some new ideas, so at the very beginning, your scope should be billions of users rather than like just tens of millions of users. You don't want to put a limitation on your own vision from day one. And if you look at this trend, I can see that there is some narratives. Could be maybe one of them or more of them could be dominating in the remainder of 2023 or 2024. I actually just wrote. I'm also a Forbes contributor. In my latest article there, which you guys can find it out by Google me and Forbes, or just go to my Twitter, which I shared my articles there. So there's a few narratives I think are interesting that you guys can keep an eye on in the near future. Most of them are stay focused on massive adoption. For example, like involving DeFi. So DeFi is not a new idea, but some DeFi, we have some regulations and the new technologies on DeFi as well over the time. And if you look at the DeFi derivatives, there is some new stuff there. And some projects are doing that as well. Explore this direction. For example, like DYDX, Curve Finance, and Trader Joe. Trader Joe is not a supermarket; it's a project. I mean, something like that. So I just list a few names. Because DeFi derivative can significantly improve the liquidity, and especially in this bear market, liquidity is important for everybody. For exchange, important for exchange, for projects, for products, everything, right? And the next one would be like involving an NFT, or you call it like a dynamic NFT, something like that. It gives more flexibility for the evolve of NFT, make it more adaptive or easily adopted by more and more applications and use cases. They could be very helpful for NFT to step into more fields and to reach out to more customers. And also decentralized infrastructure is always, I'm bullish on this, which the OORT, my project, is doing on this as well, because over like 5-6 years, the development of in the blockchain space, there's tons of very cool applications, DeFi, NFT, like many stuff, but the infrastructure is always the big missing piece. And we all know that, you cannot build like a fully 100% decentralized applications on Amazon or Google. It doesn't make any sense, right? So this is always a big missing piece, and especially in this bear market, no matter VC or investors or customers or clients, I mean partners, they will put more effort or attention to this missing piece. You know, rather than like in the bull market, there's tons of cryptos there and the application there, and people will talk about this crypto, talk about that application. So the attentions goes to these places rather than like the fundamental infrastructure. So it's a good timing for people to stay calm and lay back a little bit and review the whole industry landscape and see, oh, this is a big missing piece. We should put more effort on that if we want to have a sustainable and long-term blockchain development. And another narrative I want to say is like account abstract. They call it account abstraction. To make like, for example, like crypto wallet more easier accessible by people, right? Make it more flexible and functional. Not like nowadays when you use MetaMask, you have a lot of things, limitations or constraints there. So I just want to list a few of these narratives, like the DeFi derivative. To summarize what I said, DeFi derivative, like NFT, dynamic NFT, and account abstraction, and the infrastructure. Also another one I want to add is this very important, the layer 2 rollup. So zk EVM, for example, right? So so the goal is for massive adoption as well. So once we have this very good rollup solutions, of course, this may help a lot to boost the ecosystem, to make developers and applications way easier for their customers. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that's a lot of value packed in that that you just shared there. Yeah, I mean, from the mass adoption stuff you talked about, obviously we introduce things like account abstraction, like you said, all those things, the things that will help mass adoption, and some other things you did mention, about DeFi derivatives, liquidity, dynamic NFTs. All those things are things that are obviously popular narratives and trends right now. And of course, to your point, decentralization, which is obviously something you guys work on. Decentralized data cloud is also a much needed I guess product, or just innovation in general. So yeah, thank you for providing those insights. They're very, very valuable. I'll pass the same question over to John.
Yeah, thank you. I see a lot of similarities in kind of what I see as the narrative for 2023 as Max Lee, right? I see adoption of Web3 tech growing and being a lot more prevalent, not just in Web3, but in Web2, because bears are for builders in Web3, right? We always say that, and the longer I'm in the space, the more I believe it, right? People double down and they make cool things in bear markets, and then the next round tends to be based on the growth and the success of those technologies. The interesting thing about the current bear market is it also happens to be sort of a very uncertain market outside of Web3. And a lot of companies are looking to do things like find ways to disrupt their competitors, use innovative tech, save money. And in Web3, there happen to be a lot of good opportunities for Web2 companies to take advantage of those types of capabilities, especially when you think of all of the services and the distributed architectures provide that benefit of really low cost compared to Web3, really great performance compared to Web2, right? And so we're seeing really good growth right now from companies that maybe wouldn't have tried Web3 tech a year or 2 years ago. But right now, they're looking at a lot of uncertainty and they're thinking, you know what, we need to reduce cost, we need to improve customer experiences, and we need to try disruptive technologies to beat our competitors. And so we're seeing, startups building streaming applications on Storj. And we're also seeing established streaming businesses migrate business over to Storj. And we're seeing a lot of companies that have been using Amazon and Microsoft for backups for years, who have $40,000, $50,000 a month cloud storage bills, looking at that going, well, what could we do if we lopped a zero off that storage bill and still had great performance, great reliability, durability? And so I think that for me, the dominant narrative is all about adoption of Web3 tech, especially through the end of 2023. That's almost exclusively where I'm focused personally. And it's a huge thing for Storj, focused on the use case, focused on product market fit, and focus on the customer. So I see a lot of adoption coming for Web3 tech. We're seeing it at Storj. And I think that every one of the panelists here probably could say the same thing.
Yeah, that's a very, very I think what you said was really, really insightful there, because we've seen a lot of, like you said, a lot of disruption happening in Web 2, right? People trying to find ways, to cut costs or to basically outcompete their competitors. And we're seeing a lot of, those companies kind of look into how Web3 or blockchain technology can facilitate that growth. And to your point, a lot of, clients, migrating over to Storj, and other decentralized technologies. Myself, I've seen a lot of companies, Web2 companies that I would have never thought, wanted to do anything with Web3. Now they're introducing Web3 services. And I think that's a narrative that's not being talked a lot about, but I think it's a very, very, it's going to be something that we'll see moving forward. A lot of companies, kind of, jumping ship and joining the bandwagon here in Web3. So thanks for that insight, for sure. I'm going to pass it over to Michael.
Yes, thank you. Well, it's tough to follow up John and Max. They definitely covered a lot of positive things looking forward here. But like right now, the current industry landscape, I think it's definitely, at least over the past year, we've seen a lot of scams or kind of irrelevant parts of the industry get, kind of weaned out with, governments cracking down, and the SEC specifically, like, dragging their feet, but slowly and hopefully providing a little bit more clarity on how players can kind of function within the space. Once we do get that kind of legislation in direction, I think the floodgates will open, and we'll see all different kinds of potential use cases that people necessarily didn't think of before. One of them that I'm definitely super excited to see is real world assets on chain, or RWAs, as you frequently see them referred to as. Everything from commodities to real estate. Art is another one. And as we slowly kind of like see these real world, like everyday things move over to the blockchain, a lot of people will start to get new ideas on what else can be put on chain. And, that will slowly and surely just kind of, the word I'm looking for would be kind of roll in the Mary and Joes or the mom and pops of the world into this space and make it an everyday thing, for people all over the world, whether you're in the East, the West, the US, Europe, Asia, Africa, and so on. I think another thing to tack onto that real world asset would be carbon credits as well. As major companies like Fortune 500s have to start to track their emissions. I think blockchain and tokenization of these credits on chain is probably the most logical way to do that.
Those are definitely things that will be dominant narratives. I think the one that stuck out to me most was the real world assets, bringing that on chain. I think once we get to that point where everything is moving on chain, I think obviously the blockchain space is already growing, but that will bring so much growth and so much I guess, interest into the space in general. Obviously we see some of the big players, coming into the blockchain space now. You have like the likes of BlackRock and so on. And, once you start having those players come in, it's only a matter of time before we start seeing, tokenization of other like, investment vehicles and assets come to the blockchain. So yeah, definitely a narrative to watch out for moving forward in 2023. I'll pass that over, same question over to Jonathan.
Sure. Yeah, it's funny. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and maybe untether myself to 2023. I think these are just like, what are trends overall? And it's hard to say like, at what point does this get, I guess, more mainstream? I think maybe to like pull pieces of everyone else's answers. It's funny, when I think of DePIN, I think one of the things that's kind of undervalued is how much it intersects with so many other parts of the crypto story. So I think in like what John was mentioning, I think a thing that we're seeing is like there is a massive shift in terms of adoption, and I assume that has to be because of cost consciousness. But like Filecoin, as an example, has seen like a 10x in the number of deals on the network from a year ago. And like that's a dramatic uptick, and I think it's largely just driven from like what's been going on in the macro environment as startups are looking for cheaper places to put like their data assets. It naturally lands a home inside of decentralized technologies, which just tend to be cheaper. But I think like another trend that we're also seeing is more from like the AI side. There's this entire like set of companies that are getting these insane valuations just because the cost of GPU cycles are super expensive. And I think like one of the unique things, whether it's through OORT, whether it's through Render, whether it's Ampit or Jensen, I think like we will see more and more like traditional Web2 companies look at crypto for no other reason than it just has a supply of resources that can't really be accessed in any other way. When I talk about DePIN stuff, sometimes I refer to it sort of like fracking in the oil industry, where it's like this previously untapped set of resources, which are latent, they are available, they just weren't accessible in an easy way. And the thing that crypto rails really give us is the ability to now distribute that. And I think it's like pretty incontrovertible that like the state of the world is leading to higher and more intense usage of compute resources and storage resources. And so the need for decentralized storage and the need for decentralized compute and things that untether us from a client server architecture just becomes more and more apparent. And you see it honestly reflected in the valuation of AI companies and where those dollars are being spent. What's interesting though, is that it actually ties, in my view, to real world assets, because every data center that's tied to these crypto economic rails, every Filecoin miner, every storage provider on Storj, every compute resource, like those are GPUs, those are hard drives that are connected to crypto economic rails. Those are businesses that could become like the cash flowing assets that like DeFi is built around. And I think like one thing that's always been kind of funny to me is inside of crypto, when we look at like how we think about like the real world, quote unquote, adopting crypto rails, we think of it as like, how do we convince other businesses to start using crypto rails versus how do we just grow businesses inside of the crypto rails to begin with? And so I think the thing that we'll see as like sort of a follow-on trend is as you see more and more adoption of decentralized compute, decentralized storage, the providers of those services will actually be the tokenized real world assets. We will see DeFi spring up around, hey, look, you're a storage provider who has an ongoing cash flow and you want to borrow against that in order to grow your operation. Like those are normal like financial activities. And I think the thing that DeFi gives us is the ability to do it at better scale with a set of customers that are literally tethered into these rails. I think the one last point maybe I'll make, this is actually maybe to challenge Max a little bit. I actually think the wrong goal is to target 1 billion users. Like eventually we want to get there, but I think it's also maybe important to note that AWS does not have like 1 billion users. There's probably somewhere on the order of like 40 million developers around the world that use AWS. I think the right question is like, who are the people that we can really target? Where is their product market fit? And how do we do it in a way where we can actually provide real value to the world? And I think if you do the right things, like you don't need, like the number of users that use the applications built by AWS users is on the order of billions. I think we can totally get there. But I think it really is just about like, where are you creating like a new sort of like new part of the efficient frontier? So I would also maybe challenge this idea that like the way that we get people to like adopt crypto rails necessarily means everyone has to touch a wallet. I think the actually like maybe fastest path of getting like every person 1 degree away from using crypto rails is to actually start from the infrastructure side.
Those are definitely excellent points. It's you touch on a lot of things there, like, from basically cost, like how blockchain can reduce cost, but, also like you said, the infrastructure, part of it is also vital as well. And I think, basically, to Max's, initial point, it's like, we're developing the technology, the decentralized technology that can ultimately serve like billions of users, basically, builders, right? People who build applications on these decentralized technology to serve, because it feels like most technology right now, even in the blockchain space, at the current state, cannot scale to billions of users. And obviously that's why we're talking about zk, EVMs, and all these other technologies that can help us get there. And I also like how you kind of tied everything back to some, like, to DeFi in a way where once all this real world assets come into into the blockchain, how you can even leverage that to borrow against it, or do some creative things there. But yeah, definitely a lot of good points that you brought up there. And obviously, you brought up AI, which is obviously we're gonna touch a question that actually covers AI a little bit more. But yeah, thanks for providing those insights, for sure. Next we're gonna pass it over to Vince.
Hey, yes. The current industry landscape is indeed one of uncertainty and volatility, particularly due to the regulatory ambiguities. Just we recently saw that, especially in the United States, this has led to a shift of the crypto assets from US-based exchanges and companies to move offshore and move to international markets. However, the long-term potential of blockchain technology still remain very strong as always. And we at Zekelink are seeing relentlessly building activity happening every single day across the world, especially in the zero-knowledge space that we can directly be part of. All the dev communities are making exciting announcements, progress on different levels, on infra, on tooling, on the products. In the year of 2023, layer 2s, including OP Stack and the zero-knowledge-based rollups, has really been hit and very popular, and got super exciting tractions. And this trend is not stopping anytime soon. They will still become very dominant for the remaining year of 2023 and going stronger. Apart from this, the remainder of 2023 is likely to be one of the consolidation, regulation, and geographic distribution of crypto assets and businesses. As the market matures, we will see a shakeout of weaker projects because we're still in the bear, right? So a lot of projects will be burned out. The focus on building sustainable businesses and evolution of regulatory frameworks as governments around different regions balance the benefits of blockchain technology with the risks, such as we see interesting policy changes in Hong Kong, which represents the partly potentially a new possibility rising from the east. Like Michael has just mentioned, I also see the tokenization of real world assets has a very powerful potential. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, obviously, yeah, real world assets definitely are going to play a key role moving forward. And like, yeah, also you said like zk zk EVM, zk snarks, those are technologies that definitely will be here as we continue to build in this industry. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Next we'll pass it over to Kartin.
Yeah, everyone already talked about like majority of like the new innovation here. So like I just going to elaborate for more detail in the technical aspect then. So because like we know like AI is changing the civilization, right? Like they are replacing human from laboring to like content creation. And so like, but the problem right now is that like all the AI industry, they are going to the only way for make the AI model become profitable is that like by closing source the code and then like provide the services through the API call. And so which means like we will have like AI manipulation, AI monopoly, and have like a lot of non-transparent problem for the AI industry right now. So what crypto can help here is that we can make like the open source AI become profitable and sustainable. And so what we are doing right now is like to make this thing become possible. Recently, we proposed a new EIP 7007, which is the first AI EIP in Ethereum. And it will help to convert like an open source AI model into a NFT and make it become tradable, and also convert the output from the AI model, make it become a financial on-chain asset. And so that all the open source AI project will become sustainable financial wise. And so like right now there's a two approach to like put the AI into blockchain. Like one is like we call it zkML, and another is we call it OPML. So for zkML, it's like essentially you use zero knowledge proof to prove the execution inference trace and submit the result to the smart contract, so that the smart contract will accept the result from an AI model and take it as their input. And another way we can do it with something called OPML that use similar mechanism that we use in atomistic rollup. So we have like a challenge period for submit a result from the AI model, and then accept the smart contract will accept the result after multiple block for the challenge period. So like this is like two mainly approach we have right now. So I think it's like for next year, the OPML is going to become practical to be used by us, and but we still need to wait for a few years for the zkML to support some large model.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle that I've not heard a lot of people talk about. You know, the whole, I guess, closed source, nature of some of the AI products, coming up, in recent times. Obviously, we have the OpenAI, which is,
it's
ironic
source.
because it's closed AI. Yeah,
OpenAI is closed source, and
it's closed source.
It's understandable because like right now you need to spend millions of dollars to train an AI model, and like if you open source the AI model, everybody will just like copy and paste the AI model and run it in their own computer and not paying that. And so like crypto is like one of the best way to resolve this problem, to make like open source AI become profitable. And but without crypto, right, like we see in Web2, the only way to make money from AI model is that you provide the cloud services on that.
Right. That's true. That's a great use case for blockchain. Blockchain is all about like, I guess, incentivization, like having that technology, but also having that incentive, for people to be a part of the network. In this case, providing, I guess, inputs, data to train the machine learning model and getting rewarded for that. I think that's definitely a good narrative, and I think that'll be a popular narrative actually moving forward in 2023.
Like, I think right now, like a lot of people focusing on using blockchain to train a machine learning model, but like when you actually go into the engineering for this thing, you will find out it's just too expensive to do that on chain, like for use blockchain to training. So I think which is more practical is like use blockchain to issue an inference job for a machine learning model. So that will be more practical in the recent time.
Interesting. Definitely interesting. Yeah, I just learned something right now. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I guess let's dive into kind of the core topic for today's AMA. So what motivates you to stay involved in this industry? Like, where do you find your passion and your commitment to continue building? Despite like the constant like market volatility and regulatory like uncertainties in the market. Where do you get that passion and commitment to continue building? I'm going to pass it over back to Max.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So actually, personally, I don't really care about this. Not care about that. I would say, I would not have a big concern about the market, because or regulation, whatever. So because the things like when you want to make some commitment, personally, I would like to make a long-term commitment. If you put your time span over 10 years, let's say, even not that longer, just 10 years, the current regulation issues, or the bear market or issues or whatever, the regional market differences will not gone, will be gone. So if you look at the 10 years, 20 years, this span. Um, so my passion and commitment has nothing related to the market. It's all about the problem I'm interested in, and the problem I think which would be very important, right? Just like Elon Musk want to send the people to Mars. He doesn't care about the market, how the market is going, is a global like a financial crisis or something like that. He just want to send people to Mars, right? By 2050. So that's his goal. It's nothing about the regulations or whatever. Here, I see the big problem over there for many years from in the infrastructure industry is two things. One is the computing cost, the cost, right? And everybody is complaining the cost. And the second is the data privacy. People gonna have more and more concern about their data privacy because everything will be digitalized in the near future. Once you have, when you maybe after 5 to 10 years, people spend 90% of your time in the virtual world, and all your assets, all your activities, experience will be digitalized and stored in a digital way. So your privacy is the key. And also the cost. I mean, using this cloud service provider is a big problem out there. That I know many startups. Actually, 2 days ago, when I was traveling in Japan, I met another startup. They raised some money, and they started their new idea and try this trade out. But they just they died after 3 months because the founder has no good estimate on the cloud service provider cost. So they spend most of the money not on employee payment, not on logistics. It all goes to Amazon basically. So in Japan, people use Amazon. And then they raise money, and then they paid money to Amazon, and then they go bankruptcy. And that one joke in Silicon Valley, I visit Silicon Valley quite often. So they say that for these startups, they said as kind of a joke, and it's like we raise money for Amazon. So you see what I mean, right? So they raise money, and then they rent a server from Amazon, and they pay Amazon, and then their money is gone.
Right.
So yeah, so that's we raise money for Amazon, not for us. So that's a problem. Therefore, it's a big problem. I just want to back to 2018 when I start to work on this problem, decentralized infrastructure. My motivation is not comes from the market, comes from the crypto or blockchain, whatever. My motivation and passion only comes from this problem. I want to resolve this because I'm teaching AI courses, and my students they need computing power to do their final project. To train a reinforcement learning agent. And students they don't have money to rent a server from Amazon or Google, although they get some credits, but that's very little, right? And especially in the recent 6 months, when this ChatGPT thing or AIGC becomes popular, becomes trending, this problem becomes more severe. I would say only big companies like Tencent, like Amazon, like Google, like Microsoft, they'll be able to play with AIGC and use AIGC technologies to facilitate or to empower their business. For example, like they applied AIGC to Windows system, right, to Microsoft Office system, and Adobe used AIGC to Photoshop, right? So maybe you guys saw the Photoshop, the latest version. It's amazing. But the AIGC is dominated by all these big players, not individual person or small to medium business, SMEs. Why? Because it's all about the computing power. So let's say personally, you guys want to use AIGC to facilitate like a Bitmart or your business. Of course, they may help a lot in trading, in lots of things. But can you guys pay the money to train the model, fine tune the model, run the model? Even you run the inference, you don't maybe I'm 100% sure you don't have the budget to pay for it. It's horrible. I mean, if you look at the bill. So
So like
right.
last time I run like a inference model and fine tune that on AWS, is about $2,000 for a large one for stable diffusion a month.
Yeah, if you feed more and more data to train a really working thing, just like the one Copilot, for example, that kind of a product. So that costs you millions of dollars or even more.
Yeah, but like fine tuning it is like a few thousand a month.
Yeah, fine tune is okay if you have a very good open source, but that depends if the open source model is good or not, right? Then you use that open model, you can fine tune. Otherwise, you have no way to fine tune something, and so that is the thing. So that's the motivation for me to, just keep thinking that how we can lower the cost. Even though we can lower the cost by 50% or 70%, that would be very, very valuable for this AI or who knows, later on the metaverse, Web3, everything needs computing power. So people need low cost and easy accessible and tremendous computing power for everybody, not only for big players. So that's where my passion and my commitment comes from. So in summary, two key problems motivate me to do OORT, this business. The first is the data privacy, which will be the trend for sure, and the second is the computing, the cloud service cost. We really want to lower the cost to make it more accessible to everybody, not only the big players.
Yeah, I could feel your passion coming through. When you when you explain that. I totally agree with you. I think obviously there's nothing we can do about the market. Market goes up, it goes down, but also like focusing on the problems that we're actually solving. And in your case, data privacy is obviously a very big topic. Lowering the cost, like you said, for computing power, especially as AI and all this advanced technologies, demands the need for computing power. I think it's a good goal to have to solve that problem. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna pass the same question over to John. What keeps you motivated and going?
I think the thing that keeps me motivated and going most is the opportunity to disrupt $1 billion market, right? When I look at what Amazon, Google, and Microsoft have built and sort of the moat that they've put up around that set of services that they offer in their market share, a lot of infrastructure companies have sort of tried to come up against that. I look at sort of the minor outlying islands of like Wasabi and Backblaze, right, who are just basically building data centers and constructing a Me Too business and just offering it cheaper, right? And Wasabi just raised prices. Why? Because you can't compete with Amazon on that level, right? You can't go up against Amazon on Amazon's home turf. So what's exciting about Web3 tech? Well, it's this net new way to approach disrupting that market, not by building data centers, not by burning a bunch of carbon, not by spending a bunch of money on servers, but by enabling anyone to participate in a cloud economy, to crowdsource the infrastructure, to become, a disruptor the way Airbnb disrupted hotels and the way Uber and Lyft disrupted the taxi businesses and the rental car businesses, right? This is a genuine net new way to bring value and disrupt an established way of doing things. And I think that we can be change agents, we can bring great customer experiences, and we can drive, important themes like data privacy and ensuring people can have that strong encryption and protection for their data. And we can drive down costs, and we can implement things that reduce carbon. We just released our own white paper on our environmental impact. And when you use, as it turns out, when you use existing infrastructure all over the world that's already being spun, powered, and cooled, you reduce the carbon impact of providing cloud storage by 80%. And we had it peer reviewed. It's legit. And I think that's consistent with our industry. And people say, oh, well, what about the whole proof of work blockchain stuff? It's burning up the arboreal forest. But it turns out that that's not true. There are plenty of alternatives to doing that. And because you're not building new data centers and you're allowing people to sort of participate with existing infrastructure, it's a net new approach. And so for me, it's exciting to have that disruptive effect. The opportunity is huge. The customers that we can help bring about their business, like Max was saying, and I think Jonathan hinted at earlier, right? There are whole business models that are simply squashed because cloud companies are too expensive. It's too big a part of the business to actually run a business. We have a customer whose Amazon estimate to run their business on Amazon was $80,000 a month, and they were under 10K a month with us, and they actually used another Web3 tech. They use a company called LivePeer. They do video transcoding, decentralized video transcoding, and they're another person who sort of aggregated those compute resources together, right? We were able to provide a great solution where it was easier for the customer to implement. They ran at scale, and they knocked a zero off their cloud bills, and that enabled that business to continue. And so that's what I'm most excited about, is seeing customers be successful with Web3 tech, especially right now, especially when costs are so important. And the opportunity to be so disruptive is really game changing. And that keeps me super motivated.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can also tell. I can also see the passion come through there. Yeah, you're right. I think disrupting the kind of the big players in the Web2 space will require a totally different approach. Like you said, rather than building more data centers and doing all that stuff, you actually kind of take the Uber, the Airbnb approach, where you kind of enable the masses to kind of partake in the revolution happening, and to not only incentivize them, but also like to the points that everybody has made here, to drive down cost, to enable businesses to succeed in the Web3 space. So yeah, definitely in great points there for sure. Yeah, I'd like to pass the same question over to Michael.
Thanks. I don't know if I can add too much more significant stuff than John and Max did. They did a great job in covering it, but I think John really hit the nail on the head when he said kind of breaking the old standard, making things more accessible for everyone around the world, and providing people the opportunity for digital ownership. Me personally, I wasn't really satisfied with my traditional 9-to-5 job of sitting in a cubicle and working in the traditional finance space. And things that really excited me when I first started working in crypto was, being given the opportunity and the ability to solve new problems, and kind of have a little bit more leeway to create things and build things, opposed to, working in a more traditional industry that was definitely, set in stone.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of why I think most of us are here, to be a part of this new, revolution, called blockchain technology. Just being here alone, it's enough passion. Just working on an industry this disruptive is all the passion that we need, quite frankly, at least most people. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'll pass it over to Jonathan.
Yeah. Well, I guess for me, so I joined Protocol Labs in the middle of 2019, so also a bear market. And I think a lot of the things that originally got me excited are still true. And I don't think the fact that there's other noise or we're back in a bear market has really changed any of those theses. Ultimately, I do think this is where it's a technology bet more than anything else. I think especially when we talk about decentralized infrastructure, there's good physics-based arguments about why local first operation is better. If we're talking about how would one build a more performant CDN, at the end of the day, the question is how do you cache data as close to end users as possible? Decentralized technologies give us a way better answer to that question, where we can have the last mile be fulfilled by thousands, hundreds of thousands of computers and servers around the world, than assuming the centralized world where you might have a CDN that has maybe 1,000 locations. And so I think like the thing that to me sort of sticks out is like none of my core fundamental theses have been challenged. And if anything, I think it's sort of like the fact that so much of the world maybe underwrite, or like they underwrite crypto as being this weird other thing rather than engaging with like the core technologies, to me is where there's like a huge asymmetry. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think like overall, I think it's less, it's not hard to stay bullish if like the things that you're working on you feel very convicted in terms of like the technical approach and why these are like the right choices to be making. At no point are like the assumptions that people are making like violating the laws of physics. And if anything, if you have like beliefs about how is compute going to scale over time, how is storage going to scale over time, how large are data assets going to get, like a lot of these bets really coincide to just an assumption about, do you think bandwidth is going to improve at a faster rate than the storage that's going to be local to users? Like your MacBook continues to get better and better, but how fast is like the increase in bandwidth leading to your MacBook as an example? So I don't know. To me, it's like a combination of many things of like, why do I say bullish? But I think a lot of it is just trying to take a step back, ignore the noise of the market, and just look at like, does every incremental day, are people shipping things? Does it get us closer to the outcome? Because like, I think it was Max, or maybe it was John who mentioned like, I think they said 1 billion, but I think if we really are talking about disrupting cloud industries, it's substantially more than a single billion. And to me, it's just a question of like, if you were to take a Bayesian like view, like, is every day bringing you closer? If so, then that means you should update your probabilities. And so, yeah, I mean, for me, I look at it that way.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting perspective. Yeah, just essentially just, clear out all the noise and just continue, focus on what got you here in the first place, and just, see the big picture, right? As opposed to, worrying about the constant movement, the constant noise, it's just, seeing the opportunity and just having that, bullseye target.
Yeah, maybe actually one little thing to add to that. I think like a great example is actually like what's going on with BlackRock. I don't think it was even that long ago where Larry Fink was saying pretty like aggressive things about Bitcoin, and now like they're pushing for an ETF. And so I think it just kind of shows you where it's like, if you have the right conviction, like people will come around. I think it may take time for them to understand like what are the bets people are making, but like this is why it's important from first principles to come to your own conviction about like, yeah, what are the right bets?
Absolutely, that's a great example. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's true. That's true. If you just focus on your conviction, eventually everybody will understand, the power and just the power behind blockchain technology. Eventually people will understand it, First they mock you and then they laugh at you, but at the end of the day, they will join you. I think that's a very good point that you just brought up. Next I'll pass the question over to Vince. What gets you motivated? What keeps you motivated?
Hi, I think many people choose to stay involved in the crypto industry because they truly believe in the potential of the technology to change the world, to some extent. The idea of a more decentralized and transparent financial system is a very powerful motivator. The challenge of navigating this complex and ever-changing regulatory landscape can also be stimulating and rewarding sometimes. Despite this volatility and regulatory uncertainty, the industry offers opportunity for significant financial gains, obviously, and also the chance to be part of some great groundbreaking technological advancements. For example, we, the team of Zekelink, as one of the early builders in the zero-knowledge proof field, have obviously chosen to go the hard way. In the past 2 years, we have been very much focused on the engineering development, the technology. We encountered countless technical difficulties and unexpected challenges. Today, we are finally approaching mainnet, just a few weeks ago, away from bringing the product to market. This milestone is super exciting for us. The whole journey so far has been super rewarding and exciting, as we are truly being part of this groundbreaking technology, seeing the promise and the potential of the technology, ZK technology, come into reality and still evolving so quickly every day. And today we're probably standing at just a few months, maybe a few quarters away from the iPhone moment in crypto, which I believe is, with the maturity of structures such as layer 2s and also account abstractions, we'll soon see mass adoption, in crypto. Yeah, so I'm always very excited to stay involved in crypto.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's we're just gonna continue building. Like you said, account extraction and things like that are things that will definitely make the industry move forward, to get us to that mass adoption. So yeah, just I guess the message there is just to continue building and building these technologies. So thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Kartin, I'll pass that over to you.
Yeah, so like I start my crypto journey since my high school back to 2011. So crypto for me is like it actually means freedom, and actually I think majority of people is feeling the same way, because like what Bitcoin stand for is like you actually own the asset, and you don't need the permission from the government or any authority to move your asset to one place to another. So which means like, and Ethereum scale up this mission from just like value into another level, just computation. So like, so Bitcoin for me is like the freedom of like value, and then the Ethereum means the freedom of computation, because like the original vision for Ethereum is like world computer that everybody, as long as they pay for the gas, they can run any program they want, and nobody can stop that. And that motivated me to like start the ZK Oracle network. And so like we trying to build an Oracle network that nobody can stop, as same as nobody can stop a blockchain. And so because like this, right now we have uncertainty on the US regulation. But like I don't think that would be a problem at all, because like since the born of the Bitcoin, like we always have the problem for regulation. Like it's just a matter of the time, like the freedom will overcome all the regulation. And so like making like the thing that is unregulatable is like the best motivation for me to build on crypto.
Yeah, that's definitely a strong motivation, to build upon the kind of the ethos of Ethereum, right? To just build an unstoppable world computer. In this case, what you guys are currently doing in the ZK space. I think that's a great motivation to kind of take away some power away from, I guess, incumbents and centralized players, and building something unstoppable and something that can help the world at large. So yeah, that's definitely something to keep you motivated, or keep builders motivated for sure. We've reached kind of the halfway point of our AMA right now, and I'll just like to take this opportunity to inform our listeners who are joining us, who are just joining us, to use this opportunity to inform them to participate in our Lend to Earn NFT program, and collect stamp NFTs. And these stamp NFTs obviously are not tradable, but they act as proof of participation that can be exchanged for time capsule NFTs, which are tradable. So if you can collect 3 stamp NFTs, you can redeem them for 1 time capsule NFT that can contain prices worth up to 50 USDT. And you have the choice to open the time capsule NFTs or list them for trading on the Bitmart NFT marketplace. So, to get started on that, please check out the pinned tweet on this Twitter space for more details on how to participate. So yeah, let's continue our discussion here. So I guess the next question here is, considering the rapid growth of the blockchain industry, like we all know, why do you believe, that, the old guards and governing institutions still exhibits reluctance towards crypto? We obviously see it happening right now. Why do you think that's the case? I'll pass it over to Max. I think Max dropped. Yeah, we'll get back to Max. So I'm going to pass the same question to John.
Sure. So, I think when I first started, you in sort of working with customers and trying to onboard, a lot of Web 2 to Web 3 transitional customers, it was really interesting because you couldn't say decentralized and you couldn't say crypto, and you had to be very careful about how you described what you did. And there were just a few things that were just conversation enders. And here we are 5 years later, and some of those things I think are still, things where industry is cautious about those things. And really, I think it comes down to a couple of reasons. The first one is volatility. And I think that, enterprises used to paying, consistent prices, prices as a service, either planned pricing or metered service or whatever, but it's predictable and it's consistent, and there's sort of a buying mentality that is sort of compatible with the old thinking, and there isn't sort of a lot of openness to creativity around perpetual storage use cases or using smart contracts or DeFi instruments to fund storage, or looking at more exotic concept of having infrastructure providers participating in the economy of the storing, as you see with Filecoin, for example. And so that volatility and that sort of incompatibility with the current state, I think really just causes a lot of people to go, I don't understand it, and therefore I'm just going to step away and not make any eye contact. The other area is compatibility, right? And so I think a lot of adoption from the old guard and from sort of the Web 2 side of the house is really kind of about, they sort of built the playground and they want you to play by their rules. And if the Web 3 industry is hard to adopt, hard to use, requires a lot of extra investment to integrate, I think that there's always going to be that sort of reluctance to make that investment, to make that leap, to take advantage of all of the innovation that's going on in Web 3. And so a lot of the areas that we focus on are just, around that familiar experience and that compatibility layer that allows, sort of Web 2 to sort of talk to Web 3 on their own terms, and then slowly understand, see the benefits, and move in, but make that frictionless adoption really easy to do. And so those are where I really see that friction coming into place, and sort of that change is going to be really driven by value. And so as we see product market fit for Web 2 use cases and Web 3, people coming over, getting open to doing things differently and getting that value, and seeing their problem really solved in a unique and differentiated way, that's when I think people will become much more open to these concepts.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think providing value, like when people start seeing the value of that blockchain brings to their business, even if they don't necessarily understand it at the beginning, but you cannot argue value. Once you see the value it brings, you want to lean in closer to learn, how it works and how you can actually implement it in your business to drive cost and to increase your revenue. And then another point that you made that I really, really like is that, the current, kind of the Web 2, players, they've built these, I guess, way of doing things, to where, they want you to play by their rules, like you said, but, Web 3 is just kind of disrupting everything. And in some ways too, it actually can disrupt their kind of their revenue, model. I think, and that's another reason why a lot of them are hesitant to jump into the Web3 space. So I think those are very, very insightful points that you brought up.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
sorry. I just lost the connection and just reconnect. Maybe I just missed the question, or missed something. Yeah. Could you help me repeat the question and then?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, joining back, Max. So the question was just, why do you believe that, I guess in the old guards or, governing institutions, or just generally people from, the Web 2 space, why do you think they're very hesitant to embrace, crypto?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, I think the answer is very simple. So back to the nature of human beings. People love something. People don't dislike uncertainties, right? No matter what you're doing. So if you're like you're running a business, you're doing research, scientific research, or you just do something, or even you want to choose a place to live, right? So the philosophy in people's mindset is I need certainties. So in the coming 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. That's why, for example, like people love to stay in the United States because this country so far is relatively stable, right? So it's everywhere. It's not only in the blockchain. So for Web2 people who are, you call it them hesitating, or in my view, they're just watching. So they all see the opportunities in Web3 or Metaverse, or maybe another year, tomorrow, you have some new words. The concept or really doesn't matter. So, but if you see the trend, the virtual world and digitalized world in the near future, this is everybody can see the opportunities down the road. But why people just keep watching rather than like step into the field and quit their current job from JP Morgan, Fidelity, and they join a crypto company or blockchain company? Why they don't do that? Because people see there are still lots of uncertainties in the space. When you see lots of uncertainties, the only reaction, I would not say the only reaction, but for majorities, people, the reaction is I'm gonna stay and watch until I see many things clear in the coming 5, 10 years or even longer. And then I see my career path in this space is clear. I know what I'm gonna do, step one, step two, step three, and how my career gonna become in the coming 5 to 10 years. And then I think this is a good opportunity for me and my family. And then I will devote myself into this space. So that's what I'm thinking. So I think back to the nature of human beings, people love certainties rather than uncertainties. And in this space, the current space, because this is emerging, this very early stage, there's too many uncertainties in terms of regulations, in terms of technologies, in terms of use cases, too many unknowns. And so that's why people just keep watching until they see more clear stuff, and then they will join the game. So
those are definitely reasons why a lot of people are hesitant to join the space.
right.
Yeah, like you said,
Yeah,
people crave.
let me give you one example. So this is in my example in my network. So before I joined Columbia, electrical engineering department back to 2016, I've been working with Qualcomm research. So in Qualcomm, they make Snapdragons, right? So it's a very high tech firm, based in San Diego. In my research labs, they're genius. I mean, my colleagues, they're talents. They graduate from MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Austin, UT Austin, all top schools. But back to 2017, the ICO year, there's lots of buzz and hypes and lots of opportunities. There are some folks from that research lab joined the crypto space. They quit from Qualcomm. They joined some crypto blockchain companies. But after the 2018 until now, these 5 years, all my colleagues at Qualcomm, they're still working at Qualcomm. No one quit their job and joined crypto. But when I talk to them, but they all know Web3 metaverse. They all agree on these opportunities. But if you ask them, could you quit your job from Qualcomm and leave Qualcomm and join some crypto or blockchain company? They'll say, I will see. So because there's still so many things I cannot see clearly. I cannot keep my current job. So these 5 years from 2018 until now, there's no one quit job from Qualcomm and leave Qualcomm and join crypto. And also my friends in Silicon Valley, from Google, from Microsoft, I have so many friends there. The same story.
Yeah, that's I think the kind of the watch and see.
Yeah.
like attitude is kind of how to frame that, right? People don't know what the industry is going to be in the next 5 years.
5 years,
You know,
10 years, yeah.
yeah, for sure. And that could be that plays a huge part, to the reason why there's that
Yeah,
reluctancy and
let
hesitancy.
alone 5 to 10 years. If you just ask me the question, what gonna be the regulation become next month? I have no idea, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Right. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I'll pass the same question over to Michael.
Yep. Thank you. I believe John said it before, but I'll try and paraphrase it. I believe he said, these older institutions built a playground and, make us play by their rules. And, kind of quickly over the past 5 years, we've seen that change from, Larry Fink in 2017 and 2018, kind of shunning Bitcoin and turning it down and saying that it was primarily used for illicit activities to, what he said on television tonight. He described it as a digital gold. So now you see all these major kind of banks and financial institutions fighting for, rights for the first ETF. And I think that is just kind of the first kind of block to fall. Once that goes live, I think we'll see many more of them kind of follow soon after. And ultimately, a lot of these institutions, whether it's public or not, will start to kind of switch over to, some sort of distributed technology. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think, why they've been so reluctant towards crypto is ultimately, they want to always maintain control. And this is kind of like the next step in the evolution of the internet and, allowing individuals to own and possess digital assets.
Yeah, that makes you wonder, right? It just feels like they came in late to the party and they're trying to, they're trying to maintain that control, like you said, and obviously I think blockchain technology was one of the kind of the first innovation where kind of the masses kind of, kind of front ran, the entire, narrative and just jumped into it, and everybody else, from the institutional side or the we're playing catch up, and it just feels like they did not really understand it, or maybe the risk was too high. And now they're starting to come around, and like you said, BlackRock, Larry Fink, coming out today and saying, Bitcoin is digital gold. I mean, we've known that for like years now. So it's not like a groundbreaking news for us here in the blockchain space. But yeah, I think slowly but surely, they start coming around, and the point you made was very, very valid. Just having that, maintaining that control could also be part of the reason why. But yeah, I think that's very, 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 very good points. I'll pass the same question over to Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say I wouldn't characterize it as like generally being reluctant. I think like a different way of sort of maybe retelling history is like there's this new thing that's sort of birthed and created. People don't really understand what are all the use cases. There's like a small set of people who are like passionate, like religious level passionate about the technology. And so for a while, it sort of like bops along, it like grows and kind of snowballs. But I think like if you're an outsider looking in, a lot of it is just sort of like that meme of the cat who's like, what are they doing over there? And so my sort of read is like the thing that we had in the last cycle was sort of like this break again into mainstream consciousness, but with like much more like broad tendrils into like society. Like late night shows were talking about NFTs. And I think there was like a little bit of everyone was kind of confused together. Like I think inside of crypto, we understood, and I think like people broadly understand the value props, but I think for like the mainstream folks who finally had a thing to like latch onto, I don't know how much or how many of those folks fully got like convicted versus were sort of like trying to be in the know on this thing that was kind of hot and hypey. I think the thing that is probably shifting though is like, even though we're in a bear market, looking at like the resiliency of the folks who are still building, I think like one of the reasons why folks like the TradFi institutions that are stepping up, but even if you look across, I know like Polygon has like 1,000 partnerships with like Starbucks, and there was like the Nike announcement. I was actually at MoMA in New York yesterday, and you can mint NFTs at the MoMA, which is kind of crazy to think about. And like, I think like another way of sort of interpreting it is, we sort of had, I think people have seen that like classic, I think it was a McKinsey thing of like peak of disillusionment and then peak of enthusiasm and then like trough of disillusionment and then like slope of enlightenment. I think this might be the moment where we're like slowly climbing up the slope of enlightenment. And so I think it wasn't that people have been reluctant. I think it's more just like, it takes time for people to wrap their heads around what are the right use cases, what are the things that people, or like what are actually useful. And I don't even think we've really scratched all of the use cases that there will be. I think it's just some of the very early ones that people have been like really pushing on, I think are only now actually like permeating into like the broader consciousness of like the more institutional folks. And I think like the rate at which the rest of the stuff is going to come is going to increase, because once you have like one hook where it's like, I do think like the Bitcoin spot ETF is a really interesting one, because it is sort of like institutional signaling and legitimacy. Like once that breaks, I think a lot of the downstream things, like all these other use cases that we're talking about, whether it's real world assets and tokenization of things there, which also was in Larry Fink's most recent sort of like little interview. He was like very bullish on tokenization, or all the decentralized infrastructure. I think these are all sort of like follow-on things that come from that. So like, I wouldn't characterize it as like reluctance because they're like philosophically like opposed to crypto. I think it's more like the allegory of the cave. It's like, have people come to their own conclusion and like enlightenment? And I think we're now just getting to that moment where like, yeah, people are crossing over that chasm. And so, yeah, it's hard for me to put a finger on like, what was the exact thing. My biggest sort of like thought would have been the fact that the markets and like the fact that people are continuing to double down and invest, even though we are back into a bear market, despite like many massive sort of like shocks through the crypto ecosystem. I think that like is the indication of like, is there a there? Like, does this really have staying power, or is this truly just like hype? And I think for a lot of the naysayers, the people who are probably more bearish on crypto overall, like if crypto has not imploded post like the biggest macro shift that we've seen in a very long time, several large like industry shaking like bankruptcies, I think it's pretty hard to imagine like what are the sorts of things that would take down crypto. And I think if you were always kind of on the fence, which I think a lot of institutions had at least some mix of people who are pro crypto, some people who are anti, I think it becomes much easier to underwrite. So, I mean, that's maybe a roundabout answer, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very, very unique perspective. I think, yeah, that, when you see the likes of BlackRock and, all the partnerships, like you said, with Polygon, with Starbucks and Nike, and it's hard to argue at that point, it's just only a matter of time. And to your point, if like all the things that have happened to crypto in the past, in 2022 and, Q1 and Q2 of this year, if all that could not stop people from building and adoption from growing, like I think there's nothing else that can be this worse and can be this bad. And I think we're crossing that chasm, like you said, and when you see BlackRock, jumping in and trying to get a spot ETF, it's only a matter of time before everybody else just jumps on board. So, yeah, thank you for that unique perspective. Yeah, I'd like to pass it over to Vince.
I'm not an expert. I never dealt with government officials or any governing institutions, so hard for me to to explain why they show this reluctance towards crypto. But so some cases is that their attitude can be attributed to the lack of understanding of the technology, and sometimes it's hard for them to understand the benefits. They have more concerns about the volatility of the market price the fear of losing control of the traditional, the current financial system, and the concerns about the use of crypto for illegal activities. However, these concerns are real, they're valid, but they can be addressed. As the industry matures, we'll see more education and understanding of the technology, and I think the volatility of the market is likely to decrease, with the maturity develops. The benefits of the blockchain technology, such as making the financial system more efficient, transparent, and secure, and creating new opportunities for financial inclusion and economic growth, can, in future outweigh the risks as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that those are good points for sure. I think we still a lot of obviously bad things happening in crypto. There's no denying that for sure. And saying there's obviously the case that those things needs to be weeded out for true adoption to step in. So there's still obviously some valid case for them to step in and make sure like customers or consumers are not getting taken advantage of. But at the same time, innovation needs to move forward. But yeah, that's definitely great points there. I'll pass it over to Kartin.
Sorry, what's the topic again?
So yeah, it's just the conversation around why do you think there's like hesitancy, from the old guards or
right. Yeah, because like everybody's like going talk about their experience, so like it made me forgot like what's the original topic.
Yeah, that's all right.
I think it's just too expensive to use for actual real blockchain that's fully decentralized, because we know, right, like decentralization is like the first value of using blockchain. Because like we don't need, if we don't care about this decentralization, so that we don't need Bitcoin, right? We can just use fiat money, but obviously we do. So what is standing behind the decentralization is the freedom to use anything the user want. And one of the problem today is that like the freedom computer, like right now we have, is like too expensive to use, and also the computation capacity is too low. Because like blockchain is, this network structure is built on fully replication, so which means like it's gonna be expensive to use. So do we have another way to like enhance this problem, like beside rollup, right? Because like rollup is essentially you are sacrificing decentralization and then to trade off for the lower gas and higher TPS. But like if you want to keep the decentralization degree you have today, and also have like a like real application that people really need, that will be like the key for that people to actually join crypto space. Like because like the last crypto, like the big wave is in DeFi, but DeFi essentially is like financial usage that is not going to happen on majority of us, and majority of people, they don't really need DeFi in their day-to-day life. And so if we want to get crypto into people's day-to-day life, we need to have some usage that is like people really need that, but they cannot get it without crypto. And then one of the usage recently I see is really interesting is that they use like a large language model and then let it run it on Ethereum, and then it will answer the question as a doctor for a lot of people. But it's illegal, like because in US or in China, in a majority of the country, you cannot become a doctor without a license. But in the crypto, just nobody can regulate that. And then, but people really need that. It helps people on answering their question on how to get the medication and what medication they need right now and what the syndrome is. But if you ask this same kind of question into ChatGPT, right, it will filter out. They will not answer your question because they don't want to get in trouble. And but if you have the AI on crypto, and then it will answer any question you want to know, and then it will be like the must-have application for people day-to-day life. I think once this like idea become a real thing, they're building it, and then once this thing it become a real thing, like it will make crypto when it goes to actual massive adoption. and people will actually join this space. It's no longer a crypto just for Ponzi scheme and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, those are use cases that, I mean, it may require some, I guess, I don't know, when it comes to medical advice and things like that, obviously you want to be careful there. But you never know with AI, with the rate at which AI is going. Some of the experiments that have been done where it's like, passing, some exams that, even the smartest people cannot even, pass, or just, medical diagnosis and things like that. It's very powerful technology, obviously, but still, I still think that there needs to be some kind of, way to regulate that, not, regulating it out of existence, but just to make sure that, the output is what it's supposed to be, and not, leading people astray.
Yeah, I mean, it's a due decision, right? Like, if it's not safe, you are not going to use it. It's like,
Right.
but the decision is on people's hand instead of some authority.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Okay. I think we are pretty much, out of time. But I think we have time for one last question. And this question is just about, what, significant updates, do you currently have for your products, or your company, this year moving forward? Any significant roadmap you would like to share with our audience regarding what you're currently building? I'll pass that over to Max. I think Max dropped again, unfortunately. So I'll pass the same question over to John.
Yeah, thank you. So there's a lot we're excited about at Storj for the rest of this year. We're focused on a number of things in terms of growing our compatibility and building new partners, and we're continuing to see a lot of really exciting things from just customers onboarding. One of the ones just to launch recently was an app called Kino. Kino.studio is really pretty cool. They're doing a whole sort of integrated solution for working with the film production experience, and they're a really cool app. We're seeing a bunch of sort of more traditional enterprise apps that are just growing very rapidly, including our IX systems integration. So just a lot of things for us are really focused on that compatibility layer, on increasing performance and throughput. And I think that we'll see some really interesting things as we get greater adoption of people deploying storage, both as a traditional cloud service as we experience today, but also hybrid cloud. So actually taking more advantage of on-premise resources for a lot of use cases, whether it's AI and ML or just traditional backup type things. So a lot of cool things on the roadmap, a lot of growth, and I invite anyone who wants to check out Storj, try it for free, take it for a test drive. It's a great app, and customers love it. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that, John. I'll pass it over to Michael.
Yeah, I have to kind of tiptoe this question here. We have a number of different things in the pipeline as far as like new products and incorporating new technologies into our suite of solutions. As AI starts to mature even more, I think we'll see more like everyday use cases for the community. But I think internally it is definitely something that we're testing right now, and is something that is like very, very prevalent within the Web3 security space today. Everybody wants some sort of either like ChatGPT for crypto, or kind of solution that they can use, whether it's for trading or for finding new products within the market as well. But as far as our company and how CertiK is positioning themselves, the most I can kind of say there is definitely stay tuned. Hopefully towards the end of this quarter or end of the year, we can have some more announcements that are public and can be shared with the community.
Awesome. That's exciting. Yeah. Definitely looking forward to it. Jonathan.
Yeah. So I guess maybe like towards the end of last year, I wrote a blog post. If you search my name or my Twitter handle on Medium, you'll find it. I think one of the exciting things about this year is how many different verticals are started coming online inside of the Filecoin ecosystem. So in like middle of March, the FVM went live, and there's a number of teams that are sort of ramping a bunch of different use cases, combining storage primitives with things like DeFi and sort of like different types of services on the network. But on top of that, I think there's a bunch of exciting things coming down the pipeline. Folks are working on retrieval markets, so how to build decentralized CDNs on top of decentralized storage networks. So there's teams like Saturn that are working on that. There's folks that are working on compute over data. So how do you push compute jobs to the storage layer? So for all the GPUs sitting next to all the hard drives, how do you then dispatch jobs out that can be run on top? So folks like Bacalhau, folks like Ampit, working on really interesting and promising things there. And then on the scaling side, there's folks who are thinking about how do we actually enable different subnetworks to spin up on top of Filecoin with things like IPC. So across the board, I think there's like 4 or 5 major tracks of work where there's like, even in their own right, I think really interesting things going on. I think it's probably going to continue to just be like a layering as people continue to build and ship. But that to me is like the most exciting stuff that's going on.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'll pass it over to Vince.
Thank you. So there's been some exciting news coming out for Zekelink in the next couple of months. We're rolling out and launching the mainnet planned this month in July in about 2 weeks' time, and then we will have the first version with the spot trading live on 6 networks, including Ethereum, ZK EVMs, zkSync, Consensus Linear, and also some outlier ones like BNB Chain, Polygon, and Avalanche. And a few weeks later, we're gonna include Starknet, which is not EVM. It's they have their own VM. It's quite different. It's gonna take us a little longer on the integration of mainnet, on the testing parts. And then we'll continue to add more features to the mainnet. Planned in September, we're going to have the first perpetual trading contract and the products, and also have a unified account and portfolio margin, some sophisticated and advanced trading features for central limit order books, and then in roughly the same time of mainnet launch, which is this month, we're going to have the first OFT product as well, because we provide obviously the OFT function issuing and trading as well. OFT means omni-chain fungible token. Is similar to Layer Zero's products OFT. So we have another product which is being built right now. It's called ZK Jump. So basically, users can transfer funds from any layer 1 to other layer 1s and other layer 2s, or other layer 2s to layer 2s, or layer 2s to layer 1s without making a stop. But of course, essentially, we want to empower different kinds of native multi-chain DApps, with access to this bridgeless multi-chain liquidity and assets, where users can have a true seamless multi-chain trading experience. And in Q4 this year, we're going to support NFT marketplace. We will have our first NFT marketplace, multi-chain NFT marketplace, EcoDApp. And at the same time, in Q4, we're going to start on the decentralization of validator system, sequencers, and provers. With the recent development that we see the progress on the ZK acceleration solutions, I think it's possible we're going to have the decentralized provers in Q4, earliest I think in Q4 this year. But we will see how it goes. The decentralization of validator and the sequencer will start in Q4. that is already on our app. And in Q1 next year, we're going to add cross-chain lending, cross-chain money markets with the aggregation with our anticipated thickening of the liquidity and also the assets that are aggregated on this in our middle layer. We should be able to empower very strong money market products. Yeah, and in the meantime, we'll continue to add more networks and ecosystems. Oh, I forgot to mention that we're going to add Arbitrum at that time of mainnet launch as well. So that's going to be 7 networks in July, and then turn to 8 in August, adding Starknet. We anticipated to integrate Polygon ZK EVM and Scroll Finance, Tyco, those new emerging ZK EVMs and the ZK VMs as well. So we're going to be running on more than 10 different networks, mostly Ethereum-centric. Ethereum and the Ethereum layer 2s, adding a few alternative layer 1s. We are closely monitoring the ecosystem development of IBC, Cosmos ecosystem as well. It's possible that we can integrate it with these some Cosmos app chains, depending on the size of their ecosystem, and also it needs to be battle tested and market proven. So yeah. So there's a lot of things where we have planned on our roadmap. Exciting times. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's a lot of developments
going
on you guys' side. So definitely,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you guys are definitely building there for sure. A lot of exciting development going on the zkLink, and looking forward to seeing all those development come to fruition. Very exciting. And finally we'll pass it over to Kartin.
Yeah, hi. HyperOracle is about to open the first testnet by EthCC 2 weeks from now. If you are a developer, don't miss that. It will completely revolute the way you program a smart contract in Ethereum. Because you can right now put down the monitoring plus the automation in the zkOracle, and then trigger the zkOracle without any privilege account setting, and which means you can build a for instance a fully on-chain derivative, fully on-chain index fund, and even fully on-chain quantity trading fund. And that will completely reinvent the DeFi we have today. And so if you are a senior developer that already know how to program the graph and Solidity, please join us as a partner to program the new application that built based on zkOracle. And we are also planning to support AI model on chain by the end of this year. It will be in our roadmap in testnet too. And then, that will be a next exciting milestone for us to achieve. And also by next Tuesday, when the KZG ceremony for Ethereum 2.0 is going to end, we will have open source the KZG ceremony ZK client for the zkOracle. I think that will be the first and the only one during the KZG ceremony in Ethereum that use zero-knowledge proof to prove the randomness of the KZG. And if you guys interested on the technology wise, please join our Discord. We have a lot of hardcore material for us to discuss with.
Yep.
Yeah, my Twitter froze for whatever reason. I don't. Yeah, sorry about that. This just a little bit technical difficulty there, but Kartin, thank you for sharing that. I actually heard everything you said, but I was gonna unmute myself, and my unmute button would not work. So I was able to like troubleshoot that real quick. So thank you for sharing that. It's definitely a lot of exciting things, coming out for you guys, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I'll highly encourage all our audience to actually go and follow each and every guest speaker here today. So that way you can actually receive, some of the updates of their roadmap that they do release, in Q3 or Q4 of this year. So I highly encourage you to follow the guest speakers and also follow the projects and the companies that they're associated with. So that brings us actually to the end of today's AMA. We want to extend a sincere thank you to our distinguished speakers who joined us today. Your contribution and insight have been truly, truly valuable. I've learned a lot, and I hope our audience learned a lot, from you guys as well. So as a reminder, today we had Max Lee, who's the founder of OORT. We have John Gleeson, the COO at Storj. We had Michael Mullaney, the senior BD at Certic. We had Jonathan Victor, the head of BD at Protocol Labs. And we had Vince, who's the founder of zkLink, and Kartin, who's the founder of Hyper Oracle. And to our audience, we greatly appreciate your time, for engaging with us and staying with us throughout this AMA. We hope, like I said, we hope you learned a lot on how crypto builders stay motivated during these, challenging times, and how they're currently building in the bear market and what keeps them motivated. Don't forget to explore our pinned tweets for instructions on how to claim your stamp NFTs, and be sure to follow Bitmart and MetaEra on Twitter to continue receiving educational AMA content like this. And as always, remember, be smart and trade at Bitmart. Thank you all, and have a fantastic, fantastic day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day.
All right. Bye.